What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of December 13th through the 19th of 2021. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. I appreciate you all so much. I do hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're all doing well. What a big week we have ahead of us. I mean, it's big time as we're in Sag. There's already this big energy, and we're going to get a full moon in Gemini this week on Saturday, the 18th. And that's with the sun in the galactic center, the moon opposite that in Gemini. Wow. I mean, talk about a galactic energy, the galactic center. I mean, this is the center of our galaxy. This is the turning point. This is the journey. This is kind of what we've all been waiting for. And this week's a big peak to that. And not only is that just the big, kind of energy this week, but of course, just 3 hours after that full moon, Venus is going to go turn retrograde in Capricorn with Pluto, which is a trip that Venus just crossed Pluto. It's going to station, go retrograde, and then come back over Pluto. And, none of us, so it's interesting. We're in this Aquarian energy with Jupiter and Saturn, and we're all so connected in that way. We get to go through all this new energy together, and there's definitely some beauty to that. But, wow, talk about like being in just unpredictable territory and not knowing where things are going to go. It can definitely feel that way. And it could also feel like there's just so much, but it's almost like really narrowing down. I think this full moon is going to really help us penetrate into sort of really this big story that as individuals we're trying to come into. And of course, the week does start off with Mercury ingressing into Capricorn, and that'll be disposited by Saturn in Aquarius. And then Mars is going to leave its home sign of Scorpio and come into Sagittarius and meet with the South Node, oppose the North Node. But that Mars is going to be disposited by Jupiter in Aquarius. So both these ingresses come to these planets that are in Aquarius, and those two planets met on the solstice of 2020, which is wild. We're coming up on that anniversary of that 1 year of the Jupiter and Saturn meeting at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And these two personal planets are kind of like kicking off this Aquarian energy. Not to mention that Saturn and Uranus are getting tight in their square. They will square on Christmas Eve. And woo, woo, we're in for a treat, everybody. I wish I could give you exactly what that's going to mean in our life, but we'll do our best to break it down and see what it could mean, and then see how things do play out for us this week. But what a week. What a week. I will say that full moon is just amazing. Having that in the galactic center, it's going to be making, the moon will be trine Jupiter in Aquarius. The sun will be sextile that Jupiter in Aquarius. There's something expansive trying to show us this amazingly unique and radical kind of way to really connect to our individuality and our individuated path and this journey that we came here for. It's almost like the whole script is shifting, if you will. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think there's just a wide array of how that can go for each individual. A lot of it comes back to so many decisions and choices we've made, is like we are in these Jupiter-Pluto cycle in Capricorn, 13 years. Saturn-Pluto cycle in Capricorn, which is, about 34, 33 years. We're just getting started with some of these big decisions, but since 2020, we've all had to make huge decisions in our life about, where our life wants to go and what kind of life we want to live, and how we can kind of, make this journey exciting and fun, and how we can adapt and change. And there's pivots, and these nodes have been in such a cerebral, heady energy over the last 17 months at this point in Sagittarius and Gemini, and they're getting ready to switch too and come into Taurus and Scorpio, where it's all about the senses. And it's not even the 5 senses, it's the 6th sense, especially with Scorpio energy. And I would say that's one of the beautiful things about a South Node in Scorpio is this intense need to penetrate further into, really that deep well of emotion and intuition and psychic ability, and then use that, of course, to create and have your capacity to build. And we're also seeing, of course, the two dispositors of that nodal axis of Taurus and Scorpio being together this week, with Venus and Pluto conjuncting Capricorn and Venus retrograde. And I think it is beautiful that we get this Venus retrograde this week. And I think, there's a lot to look at. I was born with a Venus retrograde, and I can tell you that it speeds up the evolution of relationships. And it does that by having you build a very strong relationship to yourself. And that's the thing with the Venus retrograde. You don't want to just go start trying to date other people or be in these relationships right now. Like, you really want to make sure that your relationship to yourself is built in Capricorn here on integrity. And are you being responsible for yourself and your values, as they can also be getting radically transformed. Now, this can be transformation of letting go of so much in life that is just a mask or a persona in Capricorn. But what is of your true essence of self? And it's almost like we can't penetrate further into this great journey if we're not removing some mask in life. And it's like we got to go deep inside and really get to the bottom of what it is we want to hold on to, and kind of release the toxicity that could be surrounding us in life. We could all have some kind of toxic value or want or need that we want to have, or relationship. It could be a relationship to jobs, to people, to family, to money, to so many things. Physical items with Venus too. But it's like, gotta get deep into this true sense of self, no mask, no filter, just a pure depth of awareness of what it is you really do need moving forward, and get tight with that energy and get close to yourself right now so that you can make smart decisions, responsible decisions that could be the biggest transformation as we move forward that we might need in such unpredictable times, with a Saturn-Uranus square, with Aquarius energy, and even Jupiter coming to these final degrees, getting ready to make its ingress to Pisces, its home sign, next year, which is a whole nother story. But remember, like, these last couple degrees of Aquarius are extremely edgy, and you can even remember that when Jupiter did retrograde from Pisces, it did come to 2 degrees into the spring, and then it retrograded back in summertime to that 29th degree of Aquarius, and how, everything kind of got real again. Everything kind of there was just that edge, and it was like, whoa, everything I thought I was told was just changing again. And so we're coming back into that space, especially next week with the Jupiter-Saturn square. The Saturn-Uranus square. It's like, woo. A lot of our physical reality is just needing this radical change, and it's kind of the dedication and the responsibility to do that. But it's almost like you got to really get deep into the core of how you feel about what you want in life, and are you putting in the work to get it? It's I would say Pluto Venus that we're dealing with for such a long time here, really this whole month of December, is asking us, like, what do you really value? And are you able to kind of obsess over the best things that you can create and the best things for yourself? And Venus retrograde is definitely a speed up when we get this energy of individuating and coming back to really that first Venus sign, which is where the North Node's heading of Taurus, relationship to self, worth, your values, your wants and your needs, and obsessing over that, I would say, would be the positive part of a Venus retrograde in Pluto. But we're going to see in the world, like, there's going to be intense aspects dealing with money, dealing with values. And Uranus and Taurus is definitely shaking up everybody's value system right now and making everybody come to an individuated state of that. So between a Uranus and Taurus and a Venus retrograde in Capricorn with Pluto, oh my gosh, radical transformation of values, radical transformation of self is right here. And with the sun in the galactic center, with the moon opposing that, and if we look at that polarity of Sagittarius and Gemini, wow, big beliefs, big visions, everything's so big, but it's really this narrowed down, exciting sort of information, this exciting sort of like understanding emotionally of your independent truth, your individuated truth, really the the notion that everybody has that to themselves and everybody's supposed to be unique in that, and that not every, because if everybody just believes the same thing or wants the same thing, it becomes very dogmatic. And you can look at religions in that aspect, and that Sagittarius energy and this indoctrination of like, you have to believe this is the way. But there's so many ways out there right now, so you don't want to just get lost in this infinite sort of vast space of what ifs or just I believes or just, some sort of dogma in life, especially with Mars coming into Sagittarius and meeting with the South Node. Like any sort of like, a lot of the stuff, it's almost like you just don't want to embed yourself in the old stories that you've created, or that the old stories that the world has put out there. That's not going to feel good. You'll feel lost. You'll feel like, So it's all about that quick, decision and decisiveness for what really makes sense to you. And I think that this full moon is a galactic reset, if you will, of how we understand and make quick decisions based on how we really feel, and not about what a world belief is or about just people's beliefs in general, but really, as Venus will be stationing and turning right after that, just 3 hours, Venus will go retrograde after that full moon. It's because the full moon's on the 18th, and Venus turns retrograde on the 19th. That full moon is at 8:35 p.m. on the West Coast. So I suppose, it's going to be anywhere in the United States. We're looking at a December 18th full moon. And then we come right into the 19th of a Venus retrograde and end off the week with that. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, really. And even that full moon, it'll be in semi-square to Uranus. And Uranus has played such a big part in all of the new moons. And now it's getting hit with a very kind of edgy aspect of a semi-square. It's almost like, didn't even see that coming. 45 degrees over there. What are you doing over there, Uranus? Like trying to radicalize your life and your truth and the information that in your environment and your personal life can be changed to go inside to your value system and to know that you can create that. But it's almost like you have to realize your genius. And so much of this week is like really realizing and embedding yourself in how amazing you are and what you can create and what you have the capacity to do without relying so much on other things. Like Venus Pluto can obsess. It's almost obsessive compulsive, right? It's like, I need someone else. I need this power and this structure and this plan to get everything done. And it's like, okay, yes, we can start planning, but we are in such radical times right now. Like, just don't be upset if you have to pivot again. I think that's some of the best advice I can give people is like, I think we could become a very, very emotionally intelligent this week and realize how to sort of become non-attached to the outcome, but to be very almost comfortable with transformation, to be almost comfortable just with pivots. It's almost as if adaptability is the greatest gift we could have right now. How adaptable, how moldable, mutable can you be? It is a mutable full moon. And emotions will be very high. But it's being able to see the beauty, to go deeper into what beauty is to you, to how beautiful you really are. And to, remember to hold that line for yourself. Because if you can hold that line of your beauty, you're not going to get stuck in old stories that are trying to entrap you or just suck you down and bring you to the depths of hell with Pluto. It is Hades, the underworld, of course, and Venus Aphrodite is definitely, just trying to have all the good things and be the goddess and kind of set high goals and high achievements of what can be manifested. And I do believe when all's said and done, and by the time Venus comes out of this retrograde shadow and we come into March of 2022 with all this Piscean energy and this Piscean new moon and Venus and Jupiter and Neptune all in Pisces coming into May, that wow, like there is some serious beauty next year, and we don't want to forget that. But it's more about the adaptability to, go within to make these great plans, these great changes, to really know how worth it you are, and to not put a mask on or just to suppress or hide something that doesn't actually make you feel good. It's like, these are some of the biggest decisions we have to make. Are we staying in situations that are taking us into hell, or are we making decisions to get us into the Garden of Eden, to get us into the true beauty that is all around us all the time, and to not get sucked into all the, radical stories that could show up in our life? Because anything is possible. Anything. Like, just when you think that nothing could show up in our reality, oh yeah, December's here and things can show up out of nowhere. Santa's coming, and he brought some shit we weren't expecting, if you will. So it's definitely a unique Christmas we're coming into. There's nothing normal. Let's go back to normal. There's nothing normal anymore. We're in new. And I think that's the beauty and the rebirth of this whole thing, is being accepting of new, being able to transform your life for what's new, and to not just do the same old over and over, to this repetitive, to get to this place that no longer has the higher meaning or the higher accolades to it. Like, what's the accolade of, like, we have to kind of look like we all set these goals, we all have these ambitions, these dreams. Well, what's the reward look like for that dream now? Is it what you really want? It absolutely can be. I'm not saying that all visions or all dreams or all goals are just like getting eradicated here, but there could be these aspects in our life, or even just relationships. I mean, relationships are going to go through it. If relationships are not built upon a soul integrity with no mask, no filter, but just the most raw form of self and truth, and a high level of that, it is so much built around integrity. I can't stress that enough. And it's almost like, if you're just stressed in relationships, if you're just, putting on some front for society, or because people want you to do a certain thing, it's going to be very difficult for those relationships. Because it's going to ask you to go deep into your value system, and to take that filter off of that, and to go no filter for exactly what you want. And that's when you're going to get this big truth and these big epiphanies and these big visions. And I do believe with Mercury coming into Capricorn, like, wow, Mercury is still going to be out of bounds this week. It's going to be at 25 south on the ecliptic. So we're not like fully, we're not like fully into this like structured mind yet, but we are getting that filter of Capricorn, and it definitely gives us, like, I feel like it's like trying to draw up plans in Sagittarius, like all these visions. Let's put this here. Let's draw this up here. It's kind of, we want to build something. Let's get the vision going and the story of where that's going. And it's like, oh my gosh, all these ideas. Well, it comes into Capricorn, and it's like, okay, we got the first draft of the blueprint here this week. And Mercury's like, oh, okay, I can work with this. Like, I can read this. I can see this. This can make sense. So we can definitely, have this mind coming back into a more narrowed down, focused, goal-oriented place in our life of like, all right, if I put the work in, I understand that if I put the work in here, I can get what I'm looking for over there or over here or with this person. And, we want to, Capricorn's a deep thinker. Like, there's something to Capricorn and that Mercury in Capricorn that it's not just going to speak to speak. It wants to carry authority. So I think our mind does get this authority this week. And that's going to really help us, to make these decisions and make these plans. But we're not going to want to just do things to do things. Like, we're going to want to do things because they have a purpose. Because we decided what the vision is, what the purpose is, and some of the amazing things that can come from that. And with Mars coming into Sagittarius, I'm coming up on my Mars return, and I love Mars in Sagittarius. It's a very intuitive Mars. It's a very fun Mars. It definitely gives us a lot of energy. It is Mars in a fire sign, which is great to have that energy, to go from, from a very strong Mars in Scorpio where we peeled back the layers and we really had to do some of that deep like identification work to get our passions in line to move for that. Well, now it's about expanding out into the new story of what that can be, and not putting all your energy into the south node of these old stories, of these old beliefs, or just getting lost in beliefs and identifying with all these things that are very dogmatic in the world right now. But remembering it's opposing that north node in Gemini, and if you can act quick and fast for the pivots that make sense to you, and there's an intuitive knowing that comes through Sag. And of course, Mars is our ego and our drive, so we can have this very instinctual positive drive to do big things and to open big doors and to start this great journey. But we want to do it with that north node in Gemini and focus it on your environment and focus it on the people in your life and the groups and what makes the most sense. And if things don't make sense or they're sucking your energy, because Venus and Pluto has that vampire energy of like, who's sucking your energy and who's revitalizing you? And that's the big choices right now when it comes to relationships is, are you getting energy vamped from someone in your life or from something in the world? Or are you getting revitalized and are you getting this, rebirth right now? And being able to understand that and intuitively, go towards what's going to open things up in a more positive direction. And it's a very unique one too, with the dispositor of that Mars being Jupiter, of course, in Aquarius, and coming to these very edgy degrees of Aquarius as we get ready for that ingress in January. There's radical new beliefs that we can identify with that are much more, I would say connected to a soul purpose, to your soul desires, your conscious ego desires with Mars. And you really want to not be too dogmatic, because that would be the one downfall with this Mars, with the South Node, and even just Mars in Sag, is it can be so, this is the way. And people can get very upset about their beliefs. There can be an anger with Mars when beliefs start to get challenged. So we want to kind of ask ourselves, like, are we doing our thing, and are we coming back into ourselves and our individuated sense of what we need this week and what we want and what we want to build and grow? Or are we just kind of trying to people please? Or are we just trying to bring people along with us? And I think this goes for any side of any spectrum in life right now. We don't want to, go out and try to bring people on board if they're not on board. It's like, who's on board and who isn't on board. And we don't want to go out and just try and convince or, it reminds me of Mormons. And I have nothing against Mormons, but of course they'll show up at your door and say, hey, join us. It's like, people are going to come to you if they want to join. We don't need to, you have to come with me, I can save you. Like, this is where, with the South Node getting ready to come into to Scorpio, and with Venus and Pluto together right now, we do not want to be the savior. I'll be honest, we do not want to go, I can save you, you need me to help you. Do what I'm doing. That's manipulation. This is about not coercing or not manipulating life right now, but to be in a flow and to let what's good for you come to you, and to let what's not good leave you. And that can come through pretty, radical, life-shifting kind of events in life. But there's something about this evolution that we're in right now where we really have to let go of so much. Like, this is going to show us what we don't need, what we hold on to too tightly, that it served its purpose. We've kind of graduated that class. And there's something beautiful about the next one. It puts us at a lower tier almost, because, we don't know. Sagittarius energy is interesting. It's almost like when you're in 8th grade, you're the top of middle school. You think you know it all. You're the king of the campus, if you will. And, we graduate and we go to high school, and you become the small fry on campus again. And that can be a little intimidating, because we can all feel like we're going back to this new starting point. And it's like, well, I had everything. I ran the place, And I guess that's a good analogy for what this week feels like, is because, we don't have that much control of anything other than ourselves. And we want to graduate and go into these new stories and not be, scared or intimidated that, we don't have it all figured out, or we're not the king of the campus anymore, or queen of our campus anymore. But to be open to learn more. There's always something more to learn. And I do think that, getting this final full moon in Sagittarius and Gemini, and it's very interesting, right? Because the nodes are in this axis and we're not getting eclipses. We had the eclipse in Taurus a month ago with that lunar eclipse that was really, helping us really value ourselves. We needed that eclipse, and it was all about confidence. So hopefully we have the confidence to not know everything, but to learn and to be excited and to make smart changes and adapt. And that's where we can grow so much right now. So instead of being like, I know everything, I'm grown, nothing will change. Well, good luck with that. I hope it works for you. I really do. But if you get into a position where you can almost feel powerless because you don't have control over your physical values or what you thought you really did need or want to hold on to, and that can be hard for people to let go of that. I feel like I keep getting the Four of Coins keeps coming up in my head, but more so like reversed. Like, wow, we really don't want to let go of this. It's kind of a lot of shit, to be honest. Like, there's some just shit that we got to let go of here, and it's going to be able to birth us something much more beautiful, something much more destined. We still are in eclipse energy. I don't think eclipse energy really leaves us. We kind of stay in it for 6 months until the next cycle, but it's very intense until the next new moon, which will be January 2nd, I believe, in Capricorn. So we're still in very fated times on this story, and very transformative times too. I will show you the chart for the full moon while we're here. And 27 degrees, literally right in the center, right in the heart of the galactic center. And look at that semi-square, bang, and then the Ceci quadrant, bang. So Uranus is right in the mix with some really weird aspects. The Ceci quadrant's very kind of uncomfortable. And usually often you'll get a Ceci quadrant where they're in the same element. So it'd be Earth and Earth. This one's fire and Earth. So it's already, kind of that quincunxy feel to it. So it's a very strange one. And then with Saturn, of course, within a degree of that square to Uranus, there's something just that has to be adapted into our life right now that is going to make these great changes. And it's like almost like just releasing the old story completely and being adaptable and excited for the new story. And I think this gets us into a very heady place of like realizing what our emotional, kind of what our emotions tied to, and what, we can say sayonara to and mutate. We're in mutable signs. We got Venus and Pluto together, and Venus is going to go retrograde literally at 2:30. Sorry, that's kind of a geez. At 2:30, literally, it's like exactly 2 hours or 3 hours after this. It's gonna be like 2:34 on the 19th a.m. So, gosh, we have to be mutable. We have to be willing to transform. We have to be able to take the mask off and to get down to the bottom of our integrity and go deep within ourselves. And that's what's going to be so important. I mean, we have to really focus on our individuality. And Saturn and Jupiter are definitely trying to have us look into the future of what we really do want, what we really do want to innovate in our life, how we can be non-attached. Because Aquarius is very non-attached. And I'll be honest, the best advice I could give anybody right now is the more non-attached. And I don't want to say detached. Because detached, of course, is like a real, polarity to attach. It's like, no, yeah, I don't want to attach to that. It's not even about that. There's almost an attachment to that kind of energy of like, I'm just going to detach. Like just non-attachment. We have to be able to emotionally observe. We have to be able to physically observe and to just be in this mutable place, in this adaptable place, and make these pivots and make these changes. that's where the beauty's at in our personal life. It's like, oh yeah, I can start fresh in this energy to get something better. That actually makes sense. And Mercury is going to square off with Chiron for that at 8 degrees. Wow. Um, the mind can be very sensitive about how we want to identify with these decisions about ourselves and what we really want and what we can move forward with. And, I think that's the biggest struggle, is like really getting down to like the brass tacks of yourself and not feeling too weak or powerless to make these changes, but to really understand that any pivot you make on this full moon or to release something is like this galactic story just blowing up in front of your face. I mean, and blowing up in a good way. Maybe, it threw some shrapnel at some things in life that didn't want to take you farther and weren't, really meant for the purpose. And Capricorn is the purpose. And we're almost in Capricorn season with so much Cap energy. There's something about our purpose right now, and we have to make changes, and they have to be kind of radical shifts so that we can really step into that in a positive manner. Mars South Node, we just do not want to get sucked into the South Node here. Mars South Node is very difficult. It's kind of what you would call the loser transit. Anything that's of this old story, I think we just have it all figured out, or we just know what's going to happen. It's not going to help us. We got to go to that polarity of the North Node in the Pleiades at 1 degree, coming to 0 degrees very soon. There's some beautiful, beautiful energy out there that just is asking us to be, open-minded and to communicate and to, kind of banter and, to be objective. It's almost like we got to accept everybody. Everybody's got their own subjective opinion and view and motivations right now. And as long as you have yours and you're moving towards those, great. This is where the expanse can happen. It can be fun. And you can be very intuitively guided, and you just don't want to go into what the world's telling you to do. I feel like the world, is about to come to this very interesting moment here of trying to tell people, really where their story's meant to go over this next, few years here, especially, but holding true to what your story is and what makes the most sense for you and your environment and the pivots you've made, and listening to that inner calling and acting for it, so that you can have we can have so much energy with a Mars and Sag to go on a quest here. You just want to make sure it makes sense for your environment. It's not just some random quest. And I would say Mercury's helping a lot with that in Capricorn. Like, we got the plans now. Everything's much more like we can get in here and make some sense of these things and make sure that they're practical. So there's this galactic portal opening up this week that's like, make big decisions for yourself. You're not weak. You're strong. You came here to go on your journey, not somebody else's journey. You don't need to rely on other people on your journey. It's great to have people, but only if they want to be there with you and they want to show up and they're not coercing you or manipulating you or, trying to drag you into their hole. This is about, going into yourself and getting yourself out of holes here. And kind of having your plan, get situated, but being able to pivot that plan when necessary. And of course, the great aspects to Jupiter with the trines. My iPad's kind of far away, so my drawings kind of suck right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, the sun will be, of course, sextile Jupiter this week, and that's amazing. That's a great transit to have. But it's almost edgy at 28 degrees, and it's like, wow, we really gotta be willing to see this sort of galactic story that we came here for, and we gotta believe in that and know that we can innovate from that. And I think that there's something very special this week that is about that energy, but it's really about making sure that you're tight with yourself, that you love yourself enough to be your most unique individual self, to make the pivot, to make the adaptation to what you need in your life, and to connect to that energy, and to rebirth what that is in your life, and to not just think that it's all about this death or, it's part of the cycle. Whatever does die is just trying to make room for the magic to come in, because this week has the magic. And really this energy, it's in a 7-degree orb with a square to Neptune. So there's kind of this T-square energy to Neptune, and Neptune's direct. And we had squares to that last week. I mean, gosh, I think our soul is trying to go to a very high place consciously and to show us really where the magic's at. But at the same time, like we can like gloss over or not want to see these beautiful signs, synchronicities, and trust our intuition of where, the greatest values are in life, the purpose and the mission, and how to dedicate to that. And I think this week's just got a lot. It's got a lot to offer us. And I'm gonna clear this chart. Saturn at 10 degrees. That's not what I wanted to see, but it is the quincunx. There's a quincunx I wanted to show you. What is it though? Oh, it's the moon. The moon is quincunx Venus and Pluto. Right before Venus goes retrograde. And it is in the second of the quincunxes. Oh no, it's in the first. But this is like the purity of the adaptability and of the change and of the transformation of doing something in your physical environment and in your personal life that does want to rebirth energy, but it's awkward. It feels like, does it actually make sense? And it's almost like you have to trust that your truth does make sense for whatever that may be in your life. And to not be, intimidated or scared of what you can create. But it's almost like we're at a point now where we're not going to create anything special if we just keep going into the old program that we've lived at once before, but to really embrace the new program that really is yours. Like you're the writer of this program in some ways. And it's almost like that's this galactic shift that we're in, and that's this galactic full moon energy is releasing the story that you can't make any change in your personal life that's going to be better, and to give you a lot of power and to show you how strong you are and how to penetrate deeply into what you can create. So I will end with that. I hope that this was helpful. And oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I appreciate you all. Let's see what the card is for the week. Oh my goodness, the star card. Fresh, new, beautiful beginnings. And being vulnerable to the new beginnings and being open to this journey. And we're so much more guided than we've ever been before. And this fresh beginning could take you to the magic and to the completion and to the destiny of why you came here. And maybe it's not so much about worrying about a tower moment. It's about seeing that through change comes beautiful surrender, and through change comes beautiful guidance, and opens up these beautiful doors with amazing people and what this journey has to offer. And I think this week is a great time for that. I really do. I'm so glad we got that card, because there's something about the stars right now. There's something about where things are going where there could be crazy, wild stuff going on in the world, but we got to really come back to our special, unique journey and make sure that we're good there. And we got to kind of stop giving our frequency. And of course, this card reminds me of, and it's connected to Aquarius. And it is that non-attachment, so that we can be truly uniquely ourselves and go into what is the most smart and connected path, and not let other things take us down an emotional rabbit hole that doesn't make sense to us. And this really is a common sense full moon, being with the full moon in Gemini. Your common sense is taking you on the most magic journey ever and showing you so much that is going to help you out and guide you. And there's people on the path too that want to help you, but you don't have to drag people with you. The people that are meant to be with you right now are going to start showing up. Maybe not during this Venus retrograde, maybe, maybe not, but I would say, wait a little while before you commit to any new relationship, but it might be something there. The universe is working in mysterious ways right now, and it's trying to help us make some very powerful shifts on this, very amazing journey that we can go on together. I do love you all very much. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful week. I will see you daily. Much love. Peace.